So, Lando Norris, he's the new Formula One world champion.
It's incredible. Only the 35th driver in history to get to the very top. And for the first time, after a career just filled with promise, he's finally holding that trophy.
But look, we're not here for the champagne and the confetti. We're here for the deep dive, the forensic examination.
Exactly. Because the story isn't that he won. The story is the margin. He clinched this title by just 2 points over Max Verstappen.
2 points.
I mean, over a 24-race calendar, that's practically a rounding error. It just immediately ignites this huge, explosive question that's going to define the entire offseason.
Which is, was he really the best driver out there? Or did he just play the consistency game and, kind of luck into the championship?
That is the question.
And that's our mission today. We are tearing apart all the analysis to figure out who truly deserved to lift that trophy. We're going to dissect the tiny moments, the microscopic decisions that swung this whole thing.
Let's start with the man himself. Because Lando Norris, I mean, he just doesn't fit that traditional ironclad champion mold.
No, he shatters it.
Yeah.
Completely. I mean, think about the champions of the past, right? The Hamiltons, the Michaels, the Fernandos, even Max.
The common thread was always that perception of a super strong character, a bomb-proof mentality. They just radiated this impenetrable aura of dominance.
They were granite. They were intensely focused, sometimes a bit caustic, They had those sharp edges to keep everyone at a distance.
And they won through what seemed like sheer, unbreakable mental strength. But all the analysis on Norris paints a totally different picture. He's described as, affable, sensitive, close.
And crucially, not caustic. He's a new breed.
He is, and this is probably the biggest evolution we're seeing in the sport right now. That sensitivity, it's not a liability. It's actually a core part of his strength.
Okay, so how does that work?
Well, the consensus is that Norris needed, and he actively sought out psychological help, pretty early in his F1 career.
Right. And if this were 10, maybe 15 years ago, a rival would have used that against him. It would have been framed as a weakness.
Oh, absolutely. But do any of the analysts from the old guard still see it that way? Do they still claim that this kind of openness is a problem when the pressure really, really hits on a Sunday?
Because you look at Max, and he presents as completely unflappable, almost robotic.
They're not all on the same page, no. But the prevailing view now is that mental prep is it's as fundamental as physical fitness. It's non-negotiable.
The demands on these drivers are just astronomical now. The media, the social pressure, the calendar is just brutal.
Exactly. And the new generation gets that you have to prepare for that mentally. You can't just grit your teeth and endure it. Norris showed that adaptability, not just brute force, is how you survive a championship fight this intense.
It's fascinating. The idea that those granite figures from the past might actually be less equipped for today's high-stress, high-media F1 world.
He traded the old-school armor for adaptability, and, it paid off.
It did. But now we have to talk about the brutal reality of that scoreboard. 2 points.
2 tiny points. And that separates Lando from the driver that, frankly, many analysts believe was fundamentally better all season long.
And just so you know, this segment is part of our news coverage of recent F1 events.
Right. And the news is that while Norris is, a just champion, he won, he got the points, the dominant argument is that Max Verstappen was the better driver this season.
We have to break that down. Max's case for being number one goes way beyond just raw pace.
Absolutely. The data shows he was just more complete, more solid. He had this sustained level of excellence from the very first race.
And what makes his second place so painful for him, I'd imagine, is that he was right there challenging Lando, forcing mistakes, in a car that for huge parts of the season was described as far from the speed of the McLaren.
He squeezed every last drop of performance out of that Red Bull.
And you see it so clearly when you look at the errors, the error exchange. Lando, the champion, made some really costly, high-impact mistakes.
He was bleeding points all over the calendar.
Let's just list them, because when you add them up, it's pretty shocking. You've got Zandvoort, 0 points. A massive misstep in really tricky conditions.
Then you have him being taken out by his own teammate, Oscar Piastri, at the start of the Austin sprint.
And critically, that driver error in Canada. He was behind Piastri and just messed up. If you add up the points lost just in Zandvoort in Canada, you're talking, 18 points? Easily.
At least. And that completely changes the narrative, doesn't it? Was the McLaren really the best car, or does Lando just fail to get the most out of it consistently?
It shifts the whole conversation. These weren't small mistakes. They were weekend ruiners.
Now compare that to Max. across all 24 races.
Yeah.
How many big errors did the analysts find?
One. Just one.
One significant slip-up. Barcelona.
And that was the ugly version of Max coming back, wasn't it? In the heat of that race, he was all over the radio, protesting, driving a little dirty on defense, and you could see him losing his head.
A crack in the composure we so rarely see from him now, and that blow-up with a journalist after the race just showed how rattled he was.
So you've got that one single temper-fueled mistake from Max versus 3 major point-bleeding errors from the champion.
And that huge difference in the error rate, that's what fuels this whole debate. It's flashes of brilliance from the champion versus near-flawless execution from the runner-up.
So to really figure out who was better, we have to zoom in. We have to look at the microscopic moments where those 2 points were decided.
We do.
And hey, if you're watching this on YouTube, welcome to DRS Zone. Don't forget to subscribe for more F1 content, because we are about to break down the single team order that might have handed Lando Norris the title.
We have to talk about Monza. I mean, looking back, that Italian Grand Prix team order, the swap between Piastri and Norris late in the race, that's now being seen as the defining moment.
How many points did that get him?
3. That one decision netted Norris 3 extra points. He won the championship by 2. So you do the math. That single call from the pit wall is the entire championship margin.
Wow. It's the butterfly effect, isn't it? The butterfly flaps its wings in Italy, and it causes a championship hurricane in Abu Dhabi.
It was just McLaren playing the odds, smart risk management. They saw Lando had a bit more pace, and they had to maximize their points, even if it bruised Piastri's ego a little.
But, and this is a big but, while Monza was the decider on paper, the sources all remind us that this title should have been wrapped up weeks earlier.
Oh, absolutely. If Lando and the team hadn't suffered these colossal, almost unbelievable blunders.
Consistency wasn't just Lando's problem. It was a ghost haunting the entire McLaren team.
Yeah, we're talking about massive, almost unforgivable team mistakes. Take Las Vegas. The disqualification there.
They're disastrous because it was a static mistake. The car's ride height was wrong. That's a basic pre-race check, not some split-second error in the heat of battle.
A totally unnecessary 0 on the board.
Then there was Qatar. Just an enormous bleed of points from a strategy mistake. They completely mismanaged the tires, the timing, threw away a guaranteed podium.
And you add that to the, 15 points Lando lost on his own in Canada?
If they just saved half of those points. I mean, if the car passes the check in Vegas, if they just get the pit stop right in Qatar, the championship is over long before the final race.
It says so much about the inconsistency of the whole operation, even while Lando himself was starting to really hit his peak performance.
Which brings us to the other guy. Max needed to win this thing. He needed help. He needed Oscar Piastri.
Exactly. Max needed McLaren to implode from the inside, just like Lando needed Max to have a couple of bad weekends. But Piastri, he just didn't deliver that internal pressure when it mattered most.
The sources say he diluted under the pressure towards the end of this season. Let's break down what that means. We lost the papaya rules.
Explain that.
Well, early in the season, McLaren was encouraging this really aggressive internal fight, right? Forcing both drivers to push to the absolute limit. But that rivalry it fizzled out because Piastri stopped qualifying close enough to Norris.
He wasn't a threat anymore, not an internal one anyway. And that was just terrible news for Max. He desperately needed those two to be fighting each other, to be bleeding each other dry, taking points off one another.
It's the classic 2007 scenario, isn't it, with Kimi Räikkönen? Hamilton and Alonso had that toxic internal war at McLaren. They took so many points off each other that Kimi just snuck in at the very last second and stole the title.
Max needed that chaos. He needed Piastri right on Norris's bumper every single weekend, qualifying the top 3, forcing McLaren to make difficult split-second strategy calls.
But instead, Piastri just sort of faded, whether it was the pressure or reliability, or maybe the car's development just suited Lando more, who knows. But it made McLaren's job so much easier.
It gave Norris clean air. It gave him the mental space to focus everything he had on one target, Max.
And now, Lando has the ring, he has the trophy, he proved he can do it. Which leads us to the most exciting part of this whole story. What comes next?
The unburdening.
Yes, the future, the unburdening, and the ultimate test of what makes a driver truly great.
The psychological weight of that first title. You almost can't overstate it. That huge emotional backpack he's been carrying his whole life, the pressure, the desire to be a world champion, it's gone. He's consumed it.
The pressure's off. He'll only want more, of course, but that fundamental weight is lifted.
And we saw it in those final races. A definite evolution. This was version 3.0 of Lando
The
Norris.
performance was sustained, it was shockingly consistent when it had to be, and it showed the potential that was maybe hidden by those mistakes earlier in the year.
This whole season was his master's course, a painful, brutal training ground for what comes next.
And this is where we get to define what kind of champion he actually is. Because I sort of see F1 drivers in 3 tiers. You have good, you have very good, and then you have special.
Okay, so where's Lando?
He's proven he's in the very good category, no question. He has the speed, he has the racecraft.
But that final test, the thing that makes a driver special, that's defined by something else entirely, isn't it?
It is. It's for the drivers who can consistently fight for titles or drag wins out of cars that are inferior to the competition, or at least equal.
That is the ultimate standard. I mean, people ask the same thing when Sebastian Vettel won all his titles with Red Bull.
We saw Lando Norris win the World Championship this year in what, by the end of the season, was statistically the best car on the grid.
So the big question isn't can he win again? It's whether this Lando 3.0 can handle the massive reset coming in 2026.
When that McLaren advantage is gone, when the cars are all equalized, can he fight Max and the other greats on a level playing field?
That is the test. That is what separates the guys who win championships from the legends who define eras.
Is he a generational talent who can go head-to-head with Max no matter what they're driving? Or was he just the guy in the right place at the right time when McLaren finally built the fastest car?
The math gave him the title by 2 points. But the ultimate judgment from history is going to come when that advantage is completely stripped away.
So that's the final thought for you. Did Lando Norris prove his consistency and grit, make him a worthy champion? Or was this a mathematical opportunity that he just managed to seize? And will he pass that ultimate test to join the ranks of the special?
That is the question to chew on as we head into the off-season, because, as you know, the F1 season never really stops.
And neither do we. Make sure you are following all of our explosive F1 analysis on every platform, TikTok, Instagram, and of course right here on YouTube. We will see you for the next deep dive.